Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name's David Dungay. Today I am joined by Paul Magnaghi from Zoom. Welcome to the show, Paul. How are you?
I'm fantastic, David.
Fantastic. So, Paul, before we get into today's conversation, and we're going to be talking about agentic AI and how businesses can really prepare themselves for this new wave of technology. But before we get there, do you want to give us a really quick overview of yourself and your role as head of AI and ISV go-to-market?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. And yeah, I think most people know what Zoom is. If you don't, hopefully you do by now. But I head up all of our AI sales strategy and go-to-market execution, as well as our ISV marketplace strategy and execution as well.
So, Paul, let's get straight into it then. Agentic AI. I think there's a lot of confusion out there in the market as to what agentic AI is and what it isn't. What's your take on that definition? What is it and what is it not?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it comes up all the time. And I think that there is to the point of the question, right? A lot of confusion in regards to that. When we think about it, and I think as the industry really thinks about it, and why we feel like this is pretty revolutionary, is I think most people are kind of familiar with workflows and automation workflows and those types of things where I have some sort of predefined rules and structure and things like that, and then I just want to automate it. But what I feel is, and what I think agentic AI really opens up for us is the ability for applications and these agents to really think for themselves, to begin to reason and to start to do work on the user's behalf. Granted, we're on this journey, right, to kind of get there. But at Zoom, we really wanted to have a very concrete, solid foundation in terms of our definition of it, which kind of boils down into like four key ingredients. The first is around reasoning, right? So unlike a workflow that is kind of set up and you just run it and it runs in the background, agentic and agents really allow that reasoning to take place. Is this the right step? Is this the next step in the process? Is what kind of applications and what has happened in the past, right? In order to make those decisions. The second is around like memory. So what has happened in the past? What kind of learnings does that have? What kind of things have the user, engaged with? What's worked well, right? Those types of things. Taking action, right? And completing tasks and things. And then the last and probably not the least is around orchestration. Because oftentimes, having something predefined doesn't always work for every single situation and every single type of workflow. And having something that can really orchestrate across maybe different applications and different tools is really important if you're going to really have people trust that the AI is going to work for them, right? And I think that's a core element in all of this is around trust as well. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So agentic AI, we're hearing this a lot, not just from outlets like ourselves, but across the sort of the tech space. What kinds of companies should be really considering preparing themselves for this agentic AI adoption? And how easy is it to identify that need within your business that where some of these tools might be of use?
yeah, no, it's a great question. And when we talk to our customers and we're even doing this internally at Zoom quite a bit as well, I'd say taking a step back and looking at what are the key opportunities for AI in general, that will then help you inform what's that next step in terms of agentic. And so when we look at things like is the task or the function or the job that you need completed, is it repetitive? Is it generative? Is it predictive? And is it data driven? Like if you can fill in the blanks for all four of those, that's really key. And then to answer your question in terms of like what industries, what segments, what size customers and things like that, I'm sure it's no surprise probably to the audience that it's pretty much anybody. I think we kind of went into this thinking maybe it's large enterprise people that have really sophisticated systems and things like that. but especially in this economic place that we're all finding ourselves in, we're finding especially mid-market SMB startups, right, really starting to lean into this type of technology to give the impression, if not try and compete with the larger players in their segments and in their industries as well. So we hear all the time, like, I want to do more with less. I want to be able to, have more resources. I can't hire my way out of this, right? I need to find ways in which I can use technology to augment the people that I have in my organization and really scale my business without having to add a ton of overhead as well. So really, it's kind of across the board. But I get really excited because this, I think, is one of the first times I see, especially smaller companies, feeling empowered to really go after and compete heavily and behave like a large organization in terms of their sophistication because of AI.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing that as well, And back to your sort of resource comment there, we're seeing a lot of companies being almost forced into considering agentic AI and other AI sort of tools and services because they need to get their productivity up, they need to reduce those administrative sort of tasks, and it's almost the perfect confluence of events really for some businesses. So moving on to our next one then. So in terms of key considerations, from a platform, from the data, the security, what are those key considerations once a business has decided, they need agentic AI?
Yeah, I mean, it can't be said enough that data is really the fuel that powers AI, and not only just having access to the data, but as an organization, how are you maintaining that? How are you securing that? What kind of policies and compliance methods do you have in place? Because all those things are going to be put to the test, right? And it's really easy to think, well, I'll just connect my Google Drive, or I'll connect my Dropbox, or I'll connect my Salesforce instance into my AI system and things like that. Well, there's a lot of implications in regards to that, and thinking through, like, who needs access to this? Does everyone need access to it? What are those controls that have in play? And so we definitely see, and I'm sure you see this too, AI councils and things being formed in these companies and with our customers to really kind of, not only just speed up the innovation in terms of bringing AI into their organizations, but making sure everybody in the organization, including legal, is involved in that conversation in terms of, do we have the right policies in place? Do we have the right data hygiene in place? Are we thinking about this in the right way in terms of things that we do produce and the transparency that we're providing to our customers and to our suppliers in terms of us using AI for some of our functions, right? So really kind of thinking through almost in a 360-degree method around all the things that are kind of involved around that to make sure that their organization is ready.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a few sort of alternative Zoom companies there that we all use in our day-to-day life, like Dropbox, Google Drive, etc., etc. In the enterprise, tech is widespread. We live in a multi-platform kind of world. What are the interoperability kind of considerations, between platforms to really, make this work?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. The interoperability is really, especially at Zoom, kind of core to our value, right? We really want to meet users where they are, and we are from the very beginning wanting to integrate as many different applications and tools together so that people can just focus on connection versus focusing on the tech. And that's really been kind of at the core of our foundation and founding as an organization. So in that same kind of theme, right, to answer your question around, what other kind of systems and things, come into play, it kind of varies, right? And where we're seeing people really starting to lean in is around a lot of their business and ITSM type of applications, the ServiceNows, the Jiras, these types of things where I'm usually in a swivel chair needing to engage with those other applications. after I have a conversation, or actually after I have a Zoom meeting about a particular, incident that took place, or I'm talking to customers and I need to then, engage with another application to then carry forward that workflow or that process. And so, we've tried to have a very concerted effort outside of all the 2,000 plus applications that are on our marketplace to make sure that they're also AI ready, and that they can plug into our framework. So as people talk and discuss and have things that come up in meetings, that we can bring that and connect that to action as quickly as possible. And maybe that action happens in Zoom, right, across the Zoom platform, or maybe it's in conjunction with or orchestrates with, another third-party application, right? And so that, handoff and that handshake needs to really be clean, and successful, because ultimately you're trying to drive a better outcome here. Otherwise, people just aren't going to adopt it, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe let's talk about outcomes then. You said AI ready there, and I think that's a really important phrase that I think every business is going to be sort of thinking about over the next 6 months to a year. From a customer perspective, maybe you could share some sort of success stories or pilots that you've been involved in where Agentic AI has really improved those business outcomes that you talk about.
Yeah, no, it's we live it every day, and it's always great to get customer feedback in regards to a lot of these things. Some of them are as simple as in terms of use cases. Well, let me take a step back, right? The use cases and understanding like what those are, that's important. But I think also like uncovering, what's the process, what's the workflow, what's the objective, right? And what am I trying to achieve? And it can be as simple as where we see a lot of our customers starting is within, bringing much more coordination and streamlining their internal systems and internal IT operations. So we've had a number of customers do this where, they're often, meeting on Zoom to talk about a particular incident or issue that has occurred. Usually not in Zoom, it's usually something else that's there. But then using that to then inform, let's say a ticket that needs to be created, that then generates a process or a workflow that's then associated with that, that then drives to that outcome much faster, right? And so I think when the light bulb goes off for a lot of our customers is, maybe in the past they were doing the Zoom meeting, ending the meeting, going into their notes, reviewing those notes, cutting and pasting into a ticket, what that ticket actually looks like, send it on, and go along your process. Now they're able to have all that happen before they even hit the end or leave on the Zoom meeting. So as they're discussing and talking, those updates are actually happening in real time. The ticket is being created, it's being updated, it's being changed. And in this case, let's say Jira is just like another participant in the meeting, and taking those notes and orchestrating that work, and taking that through. Other examples we've had where, which is a big one for marketing teams, is we have a lot of marketing teams that use webinars from Zoom, and a real simple request that we got early on in this journey was, hey, there's a bunch of information and work that goes into creating a webinar, right? We're trying to drive more, marketing qualified leads or MQLs for our sales teams. We want to fill more pipeline, and we want to drive more revenue. And in order to do that, we do these webinars to do and reach into new markets. But there's a lot of work that goes into that, right? And then once the webinar's done, what happens? They usually send that transcript off to an agency. They transcribe it for them. They create assets like blogs and email sequences and all that stuff. Well, we can all do that now automatically with AI Companion with Zoom to basically take that webinar and start creating draft assets for the marketing team. So then they can go focus on not the actual asset creation, but they're focused on, okay, what's the new market we want to go after? What's the new persona we want to go pursue? What's the result and metrics that we're actually deriving from that in terms of those leads for our sales teams and things like that? So we're really trying to like shorten that amount of time, bring the conversations, the activities into action as quickly as possible. And those are kind of two very like, distinct kind of use cases that we hear come up all the time, with our customers that are really looking at this holistically. It's not just an IT thing, but it's also a revenue thing. It's a legal thing. It's it's an operation thing, right? There's ways in which they could apply AI kind of everywhere.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to measure that success as well. So in terms of ROI and measuring, what are the early indicators or metrics organizations should really track to measure that ROI of their agentic AI deployments, whether that be in collaboration environments like Zoom or elsewhere?
Yeah. So yeah, ROI is the name of the game, right? In all this stuff, and we've been through. I'm sure you have too, as well as I have, a number of these different transitions with technology, and there's that hype cycle and everything associated with it. But at the end of the day, like if we're not helping people save time, if we're not helping them enter new markets to grow their business, right? Enhancing how they can collaborate better together and really harness the human connection within their organizations, then we're not doing our job. And so whenever we do talk to our customers and engage with them in these conversations around AI, we always are thinking first and foremost, what is the outcome you're trying to drive, and how should we be measuring this, right? Because it's really easy to get really excited about the magic trick of AI. Like, hey, I created this thing and all I did was give it a prompt, right? Okay, now that that's over with, right? How is this actually driving results? And is this really saving my organization time and money? And more importantly, we hear this a lot too. Am I getting more resource? Am I scaling my organization faster and better and more economically through using AI versus maybe other traditional methods of, needing to hire additional people to go do these things for them? So we're really seeing our customers, well, I'm sure you're seeing this too, really starting to take a step back and think through, what are the outcomes we want to go drive, and then working that into those initial discovery sessions with them. And then we also, at Zoom, we're very visual for a lot of different reasons, but we like to show what is possible as well, because a lot of people and a lot of customers don't always know what they want. And I think illustrating and giving them use cases, giving them examples that we know are tested and are well received, at least helps prime the pump, gets the spark going with them in terms of working through that journey on this as well.
Absolutely. Paul, I think that's a really great place to end today's discussion. Thank you so much for sharing some of your insights with us on Agentic AI.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. And don't forget, if you want to follow along with Zoom's Agentic AI story, you can do so on uctoday.com. And if you like today's discussion, please give us a like and a share on social media. That's it from me. See you next time.